Hey everybody, Texas Stroker here, Lance. This Performance Shop alone, Mopars.com. It is Friday night. It is hot in the shop. It's about 99 when I left work. Trying to check some text messages because that always happens as soon as I start recording. But anyway, we'll just brush that to the side like it never happened. And I've got a true confession to make here. The stuff that you're about to see has come in across 3 or 4 different orders, and essentially what happened, we had a lot of Wera stuff that we sort of pushed to the forefront. We had the Easter egg, which was kind of needed to be done in a timely manner. Not exactly the best thing. If I put that just scheduled with everything else, probably would have seen it around the 4th of July, somewhere in that time frame. And then after that, we got the Craftsman Turbo, kind of had to expedite that, and needless to say, a lot of the stuff that was brought in sort of tied in with one or both of those items, and subsequently it's all just kind of piled up over here. I've still, at this point in time, May 1st, I've still got tons of videos stacked, but I also need to clean the shop up and I need to be able to use this stuff, and I don't want it to be filthy before I showcase it here. So what I've done is I've sort of divided these several orders up, from what I would have placed, and I just kind of combined them as I thought would be interesting or practical. And in this case, we're going heavy on the Wiha. In fact, that's all there is. But I can tell you right now, you'll want to stick around. I'm kind of mixing things in, some new items here and there, and you will probably want to see what they are. That said, if you do, be strapped for time if that's the situation you find yourself in. Timestamps, links always down below. If you need to skip around, if you've seen a lot of the stuff in the thumbnail, you're just interested with item X, Y, or Z, slide down there. I will have the item, the price, which is going to typically be the standard retail, if you will, from KC Tool, and the link and the timestamp where you can go straight to that in the video. With that said, free freight, $50 mark, $100 mark, you get the German sticker tool pack. The bit of thanks are currently back to Philo, which that's fine by me. I actually really like those, and yes, they're still stamped. But we're going to get started here with hopefully a brighter note. This is sat here. I've never tried it, which has kind of bothered me. And if you recall, I believe the most recent hat we brought in from KC Tool was the Stavilla one, and I told you it didn't fit. Like I could technically wear it, but it would not be comfortable in the slightest. And since that has happened, when I was coming in, trying to line everything up on a couple of orders, I always try to find, cheap items to throw on and get the free shipping. Well, apparently that Stavilla hat has been discontinued. I don't know that it was still in stock. If you saw it and you're on the fence about it, I would check ASAP and get that sucker coming, because it's discontinued. Now, I optimistically hope they're upgrading their hat game. They're going to go to a FlexFit. They're going to do some cool color variations, going to emphasize their green, something along those lines. But that hat, I could technically wear it. It'll keep crud out of my hair. If you picture me, grinding away on a rusty floor or something like that. Good for that still, but it's not comfortable enough to wear out. And that's kind of a sad thing. Now, right here from Wiha, I've wanted this for quite some time. I brought in one Wiha hat, but it was the different style. It was sort of like the one-size-fits-all white and black. This one's a little bit more my color scheme here, gray and white. But part number 91460, and I'll apologize in advance because since this is pieced together scrap meal for multiple orders, I just kind of scribbled out everything over here. And the hat would set you back, standard price, $16.99. Sometimes you can catch these on sale from Wiha. Sometimes, the throw-in item from Wiha direct. And the saddest thing about this hat, I guess it kind of depends on your preference, is when you look at this from the front side, you're thinking, oh, that is nice, that is modern, it's going to look great on my head. I'm gonna wear that to work. Super, super nice, right? And you look at it and you're like, FlexFit tech, oh yeah, everything's going to be solid. Let's go ahead and show me the back. Oh, the logo's there. So what do they have, a URL on the back maybe, like Wiha.com? Nope, it's a snapback. Now, some people like snapbacks, some people prefer to have a FlexFit, like a one-size-fits-all fitted hat type of a thing. I can tell you right now, yours truly, just by default, it's usually the last 2 buttons. I'm going to go ahead and give this some slack because that looks about right. Going to throw it on. That's not too bad. I'm not going to show it to you, but take my word for it. This one actually fits. Might back it off 1 button, but the other thing about wearing hats around here, it's always windy. And, I nearly lost my trucker hat from our propane supplier at work as I stepped outside into one of the storage buildings earlier. But very good looking hat. Again, you can sometimes catch it on sale. I wish they would have this one with the FlexFit. That would be my personal preference. Also wouldn't mind having a mesh back because I used to always hate those hats. And as I wear them more and more just for work to keep crud off my head, I appreciate the ventilation because with the wind, I do feel the breeze. That is appreciated. So, again, kind of a novelty. If you're a big Wiha fan, if you're just looking for a decent hat that you can wear, you don't care about, there's an option for you. Also, if you want to go out in town and wear your Sunday best, also an option. Just depends how we each live our own life. But, there's that, and at least that one actually will fit my head. A couple of you said the same thing with the Stavilla hat, so I feel for you. It's one of those things you just assume one size fits all, and that's sometimes not the case. Now, where we were with Wera. With the Easter egg, we got this sucker, which I had in the house. I brought back out here. But as you can see, it's got the tiny, tiny little bits right over here. It's the 4mm stuff, and that got me thinking. As soon as I picked this up and I used this some, I thought, you know, like, what are my other options out there? I know Wiha does this stuff. I've never really bothered to bring it in. I've just had, you know, like this classic little, you know, Pico precision ones. At work, we've got the ancient ones, which have held up very well. Granted, they don't get used very frequently at all, but they have held up, and that's good. So that's my experience with them, but I'm sitting there, and with this product from Wera, I'm thinking, hey, you know, I can interchange these bits with different handles, and I know Wiha has that. If you do a lot of small electronics, you probably want to buy one of the sets, which sometimes those are on the big deal. I don't think they're on this one. They just announced that today because, again, it is May 1st as I'm filming this. But that is the route to go, in my opinion. It's usually like 65-ish if you can catch it on sale. It's got the handles, it's got extensions, it's got crud tons of bits. And it's probably what you would want to do. Now, what I'm going to do is we're just kind of going to jump into this blindly. And, let's see, which one do I want first? I'm trying to make sure I match this up correctly. And we're going to slide this one over. I believe, I could be mistaken here on some of these, but I want to say this will set you back $6.29. Everything from Wiha, you know, like the 4mm precision bits, they're just going to call it System 4. This will all interchange with their bits, and presumably, just like with other 1/4-inch bits, you know, on a standard size driver, Wera, whoever uses 4mm stuff, if you got a back stock from something ancient American made, if you got a back stock from another company and all your handles suck or you've broken them, should be plug and play across the board. Before you heavily invest in that, I suggest you test with something cheap. But this right here, I do hope I like it because I screwed up and ordered 2 of them. I've already had the other one out, and yes, I've used it, and yes, I did like it. So kudos to me for preparing. But the part number here, I guess we'll just run with, I think they printed actually, so 75800. Fingertip rotation cap, holds all of their System 4 bits, and Wiha, luckily for us, does pretty good with their packaging. Now, that said, if you've got longer fingernails, you might fare better than me, but it's not one of those ones that you have to, you know, cut up with a knife and then, you know, cut yourself. You can see we could easily seal that back. Probably won't, but this is what we get. This is just kind of their standard System 4 handle. As you can see, it rotates there because of the cap. Black and blue reminds me of their 3K drivers, which I oh so dearly miss. Wish they would bring that. I would actually love to see the black and blue color scheme from the 3K applied to the SoftFinish. That's their red and black handle, right? I think that would be a interesting route to pursue. Now, I had something else listed, but I think we'll go this route. For ESD, and Wiha has changed this. They've actually, I don't think I've gotten that in yet. There's a couple of items that I think have been like mega back ordered or possibly lost. It gets really hard to keep up with it. But this one, item number 75801, it's essentially this handle, but this is ESD safe. You can see there the yellow hands on. You want to use this with precision, high dollar electronics, if you will. Exact same thing, but I guess it just is able to retain any potential static discharges, which is what you want. Now, granted, I've built a lot of computers. Typically, you want to ground yourself and everything and take precautions. There's been a lot of times like I've just kind of bailed someone out that sort of, you know, is trying to replace a hard drive or get something going or upgrade a graphics card, and I've sort of come over and their working conditions would be what you would consider far from ideal, I guess would be, to put it mildly, and it's not anything you can come in and like really fix because they've already sort of done the damage, if you will. But I can't think of a single time where I've ever had anything fail, you know, type of a deal. So that said, it is best to take the precautions just to be safe, particularly if it's yours or you're doing it commercially for people. Now this one does not rotate near as good as the other, but as you can see there, it is ESD. Now the big game changer with Wiha's ESD stuff, it's gone from sort of the gray, which a lot of companies use, to a yellow and black, kind of a way more flashy, way more vibrant. It's almost like Wera's chisel driver color scheme, and I gotta say, I like it. I'm looking forward to seeing it in person, and I'm actually gonna go in the house and see where the heck that stuff is. So I think there's some stuff from KC Tool that still hadn't come in, which has been back ordered a while. And then Wiha had their big 50% off sale, and I don't know when that stuff's gonna ship, but I cashed in on that one too. Hopefully you did as well. Right here though, from Wiha, item number 26003, and this one is going to be again a micro bit holder, but this, as you can see, is the PicoFinish. So PicoFinish, think of that as the precision side of their SoftFinish, the red and black handles you should be familiar with. And man, there we go. Again, I struggle with this, but I assure you this is better packaging than you get in most items with similar fashion. Right there you can see it again, red and black, bonus points if that's your color scheme. This one rotates really well. You can also see right there, since this is a bit holder, it's not only just the Wiha logo with the hex, but that actually technically would tell you if you're looking at this in a screwdriver stand, hey, that's a bit holder. Let's double check these two. Nothing there. Again, these are sort of the old school ones right here, you know, kind of, and that's another deal. I think, don't hold me to this, because stuff's been crazy lately, but I almost want to say when I went and picked up stuff from Wiha Direct, I want to say they were phasing out a lot of this stuff. Like, you know, they're still going to have, obviously, their System 4 line, but if it's a deal where if you cut your teeth with that black and blue handled one, might want to bring one in because it very well could be getting discontinued soon. So keep that in mind. Now what I'll jump to now, again, I believe $629 for both of these, and then the Pico you pay a little bit more for $881. Again, all these prices from KC Tool. This is something I've actually wanted for a really long time. Never brought it in just because it was, you know, something, it's out of stock quite a bit, and it's also made in Taiwan, which I know that's kind of a turn off to a lot of people. Taiwan, you can get some pretty good ratcheting stuff from them. It looks really good. I just took it out of the bag for the first time, and it's going to be item number, which again, thank you Wiha for actually printing that stuff on your packaging, 75805. It's a 4mm magnetic microbit holder, and the catch is this is a pin and it has storage in the handle. So essentially what we're able to do here, if you use something all the time, you can outfit it in here, and then if there's like auxiliary pieces that you would use, you can come in and drop them in the handle. It's probably not, you know, the greatest system, but for pure tactician purposes, I think this is a decent option, and it also gives us yet another bit holder to test out and see what we like the best. So again, and that's not something I would recommend that you use at your workbench. You're better off with one of the top three, depending on what you're doing. But to have in your pocket, just to have access to some commonly used bits, if that's something you face frequently, I think that's a legitimate consideration for you, particularly because it's only priced at $585. Now, coming in right here, let me see here. So many of these items have the same prices, it gets really confusing. $539 would be the price for this one, and it is item number 75901. This is hardened CVM tool steel. It's going to hold the bits, and if you're curious what it is, if you're thinking another bit holder, seriously dude, nope. It's a 100mm extension. So I gotta say, typically, depending on what you're working on, this is kind of like, well, you know, why would you ever need an 8-inch screwdriver? Well, you got transmissions and cavities, depending on like how big of a panel you might be working on, or breakers, things of that nature. There are situations where you need to go deep, and if we need to go deep with precision stuff, this is where these bit holders, oh, that's taped down. I was looking off to the side here, wondering what in the world is my point of resistance here. But what I want to do for you is throw that up there. And back to the story. Most of you are going to have precision drivers of varying, quality and price points, but you're never going to have one that's like super long. Now, the benefit is you've got a long shaft usually, and then you think, well, my handle's fairly long too. When would I ever need this? Well, if we run into a situation where this comfortable little precision handle is going to tap out and literally prevent you from bottoming out, like let's say we need to drop down here and get to like a circuit of some sort, and we can't because of interference, that's a problem, right? And the way to fix that is to have something like this that's going to be thin, pretty much as thin as it could possibly be in this case. Technically, you could, argue you should have a fixed extension, but for all intents and purposes for bit holders, this is going to be the route you want to go. And it's basically going to allow us to take this point and extend it down and go to town with our desired bit. So, pretty cool. Again, price point for that was $539. Now for $359, flipping some of the numbers around, we're able to pick this up. It will be item number 75802. Again, this plastic, the downside to it, it glares quite a bit. It is a micro bit holder. And you're thinking, oh, didn't see that coming, How dare we, assume that we knew what was going to be in this box? Well, the catch on this one is simply, you can kind of see the business in there. That'll hold our 4mm bits. But the flip side here, if that looks familiar, it should, because this, my friends, is going to be for a standard driver. If you were to plug in our bit of thanks from Wera, Philo, or Wiha, this could drop in as well, and this will allow you to utilize any of your standard size bit holding handles with precision bits. Now, obviously, you're going to have a whole lot more torque potential there, but as long as you keep that in mind, you can also kind of create extensions that way. And just one of those things, this is all very reasonably priced, and as you think about applications you face in your hobbies or at your place of work, all of these kind of combine to make for a very useful setup for yourself. So that's sort of why I brought these in, and hopefully it translates well for some of you as well. Now, these tie in perfectly, and I'm not 100% sure on this, but this next item might be one that could be on the chopping block. It is item number 26000. It is their plastic precision tool rack. Now, online, this had this sweet 60s, like seafoam green look to it. It's green. It's sort of like a spring green. It looks pretty cool. It's kind of got that like throwback effect I was looking for. But my thoughts are, as I pick all these up, we've got quite a few screwdriver stands. The KC tool ones would be ideal for these, but I'm kind of thinking like, hey, if I set these up, I'm probably going to have, especially since I screwed up and bought 2 of these with the blue cap on accident. It's one of those things, it's not really expensive enough to send back, so you're just like, yeah, make the most of it. And that's what I intend to do. But for example, with the electronics I tear apart, which fittingly, one of the reasons I decided to do this as well, at work, I've been having to clean out one of the storage rooms, if you will, and we got a lot of old electronics in there, including computers. And yours truly is the man tasked with dismantling them and ensuring that we don't lose any data or just toss it type of a thing. So I thought, I'm gonna need some tiny screwdrivers, and at work, that's kind of a problem. So that's where some of this will come in. I'll probably take the little cheap handle here. No, truth be told, I'll probably take this one and the cheap one and go to town. That way I can kind of pull what I want to and then just break the rest of it in a purely beautiful Office Space-esque montage. Picture the fax machine being broken, but it'll be computer pieces. I actually, at work, had my first ever computer. It was an AST. And, I think it had a 540 megabyte hard drive, and I'm like, yeah, think of all the shareware games I could have played off of my floppy disks and stuff. So, and Carta 96 was installed on that. Good times, I tell you. But this right here, you can basically hang it with obviously tiny screws. It's also magnetic, which the interesting thing, I've tried to think about this. With that being magnetic, and it actually does pull out because I have played with it, But the situation I was coming up with is like if you just throw that down on like a steel work surface or your toolbox, you can't put anything through it, you know? Like, it would work really good with these bit holders, I guess, but if you actually had like a bit, it wouldn't happen because you need this mounted, you know, so it can kind of rest at about that height. You need about that much protrusion for this to be solid, and that is a pretty good fit. I mean, look at that. There's no sleight of hand here, no trickery dickory dock. I mean, you saw it for what it is, and that was just loosely put in place. If I actually press it, that's not going anywhere. The bottom line though is if we actually have this bottomed out using the magnets, I don't know what they think is going to happen because you can't put anything in it. If the magnets were on this side, it would make sense to me. That's interesting. Now I can hang this anywhere, like we could put it on the square tubing right here behind me, but again, if I do that, I can't insert this far enough and it's just going to kind of hang crazily. But I think you need to mount it, and I'm not quite sure what function the magnets would provide. I don't know if maybe they keep this intact if you have the bits. Maybe that's why this ring, I'm not sure if that's aluminum or steel. Let's find out. Aluminum. Okay, I really don't know what the logic is on that, but bottom line, I'm going to mount this so we can actually use it correctly. And price point on that one, which I think, don't hold me to this, but I think that might be getting discontinued, would set you back $539. Now, if that's getting discontinued, those of you who can apply deductive reasoning can likely and logically assume there has to be a successor, right? And what is that successor, you're probably asking yourself? Well, it would be the PicoFinish, which I haven't opened it up to see what's so great about it, but it ties in with their new line of drivers, so I suppose that's probably why they'd run with it. This is item number, let's see if I can find it, 26003. So again, 26,000, and then plus 1 plus 2 plus 3 equates to this, the PicoFinish tool rack. Couple of interesting things here, okay? First and foremost, we've got the color change. We've gone from green to black. The black is going to look really good with the PicoFinish drivers because that's their color scheme, obviously. Also of note, though, a tool tray. This is kind of brilliant because let's say that you've got, you know, your dedicated drivers and you've got 1 or 2 bit holders in here with bits that you frequently use. Should you wear one out, should you have a 3rd, 4th, or 5th one that you sometimes have to cycle into one of your bit holders here, they weigh nothing. They're 4mm bits, for frick's sake, you know. You can keep them in the tray. And then you don't have to have, you know, like, you don't have to go open your toolbox and pull out the cool little steel case and flip the lid and, you know, look around and find the bit that you think you need. You just kind of have it there, ready to go, ready to save you time. Pull out your bit holder, you drop the insert from the one you need to extract, you put the one that you need, and you go to town. It's a beautiful system. So, right there, oh, well, isn't this a bombshell that's been dropped upon us? Now, I would have assumed, and possibly wrongly so, that, you know, you want that to drop down from the top, right? And that's why you would hang it in this manner. If we look at the back of this, which I had never done until now, or I wouldn't have spent 2 minutes lecturing about magnets there, that is inverted. Interesting. Okay, so holds up to 6 PicoFinish screwdrivers. Let's see what they say. Hang holes for mounting to a wall or workstation, and then tray in front to hold loose screws and fasteners, or bits. Screws and fasteners is another great option, particularly if you assemble things. Maybe you do clocks, maybe it's like jewelry type stuff, watch repairs you do in your free time, whatever. The tray is a nice feature and it doesn't cost that much more. Dimensions, for those of you concerned or with cramped workspaces, 5 1/8 length, width 2 inches, height 8 3/4. Oh, I'm sorry, 7/8 tall. I thought that was 8.75. It is 0.875, and that is a critical difference right there, isn't it? So let's go ahead and break this thing open and see. What I want to know is probably what you want to know. Are there magnets on the bottom? There are not magnets on the bottom. I'm not sure why there's magnets on that one. I guess if it's designed to hold these upside down, which I would not have thought, that does work fairly well, and then you would be able to see. I could see. Now, I want to say even our old ones at work, which are, I believe, just this classic finish, you know, not blue cap, they're, I believe, red. I think on the cap top it still lists out the size like my new ones do. So point being there, if you did have this like I thought it would go, you would easily be able to see the cap. Now, if this was flipped, I'm not sure many people are going to be able to be like, haha, yeah, that's exactly what I need. You can probably eyeball it, but you're not probably going to be able to dictate your sizes. But that does fit fairly well there, interestingly enough. So in that case, the magnets would actually be practical, and it's sort of sad that they are not present on this one. That said, with the tray, if you do want to sit this flat on a workbench or a work surface, it provides a little bit more of a base, and I guess, you know, you're less likely to tip it over in those instances. Has the same style mounting holes. In fact, if we flip this one around, it's going to be a little bit wider. Our black one, you can kind of see and eyeball the differences there. Both of them will hold 6 tools. Now this bottom looks radically different from this one. This is just kind of a slightly tapered hole, whereas this one, it's a big hole, and then it's just got like a smaller insert right there. Not insert, but essentially, you know, a stopped machining. And that creates the landing spot for the driver. Now let's go ahead and test it out, shall we? Because we know the back of the packaging showcased that, right? But what is it like in this case? That's a pretty positive feel as well. I feel like that clip, the retaining ring there, I think that will do a good job of keeping her in place. So ultimately it comes down to, do you want magnets? Do you not want magnets? And how much value and money are you willing to spend for the tray with the Wiha logo, which is a nice touch, I must say. But interesting stuff right there, progressing even differently than I thought it would. Now, with that said, we're going to move on. We're going to kind of get to some of the unexpected stuff right here, okay? So this is part number 38801. It's going to set you back $17.65. It is made in Germany. It's their comfort grip. And if I swing her down, you see that? You're thinking, oh, Lord, you know, another, what, it's a longer extension? Yeah, it's a little bit longer. This is going to be 150 millimeter instead of 100. But look at what's attached to it. That's right, it is a T-handle. With the Wera T-handle that we brought in for testing, we also had recently picked up the Filo T-handles, you know, quarter drive that I really like. I kind of started wondering, like, hey, I wonder whose T-handle I would like the best. Why? Because we could apply that to hex drives, you know, dual drive ones. And I've noticed, sadly, Hazette, Couture, Stavilla, they have some really cool looking T-handles. The problem is, in the hex sizes, they don't seem to do the dual drive, which you would have, you know, a hex here, and then you'd have a shorter one here for when you really need to bear down on something. They don't do those for SAE or Imperial stuff. It's just metric, right? And that to me is pretty sad, because I would way more get use out of the Imperial sizes. But hey, that's just me. You know, I'm sure most places, you know, are going to be metric, and they're obviously going to be like, I don't need the fractional stuff, I never touch it. But for me, I've got a lot of old stuff, and it's all fractional, and, you know, it doesn't translate very well to metric, so that's a bit of a buzzkill. I can kind of understand why they might not do it. You'd think maybe they'd, like, test the waters, though, or just, like, hit up KC Tool and some distributors and say, hey, you know, we're going to make 500 of these. If you can sell them, we'll make another batch. If not, we're never doing it again. And who knows, maybe they've tried that. But bottom line, I wanted to try out this T-handle. The good news is, if you use a lot of Torx fasteners, that's kind of universal. You know, they can sell it to the rest of the world and America, if you will. And we could get the cool handles with the Torx drive. So that is something to keep in mind. But this will work with standard bits, and that will allow us to do some cool things. And of course, it lets me test out the T-handle, which I've got to say, I personally feel that people undervalue Wiha's pliers and the grip on them in particular. It's actually pretty good, their soft grip. So keep that in mind. This feels really good. It's got a hanging hole, and it's, again, 150 millimeter shaft, 1/4 inch standard bits, and micro bits will apply if we run that adapter that you can see right back there. So this is about to time out on me. I'm going to stop it before it does that, and we have one more item to showcase. And we are back, and we've got the final item, and it ties in beautifully here because, again, it's from Wiha. This was not brought in with any of this stuff. It was something, you're going to see more of it in the future, I'll say that. The part number here, 32611. If you're curious what those are, they would be SoftGrip heavy duty shears. They're going to measure out to 5 3/4 inches or 145 millimeters. It's got the classic Wiha packaging, classic color schemes here. Let's check out the jargon, if you will. High alloy carbon steel hardened burnished surface, sturdy model. Okay, straight, very robust micro toothed cutting. Okay, so we are going. Oh, what? Made with global components by Wiha in China. I was pretty sure this, in fact, I know it said it was made in Germany, because I was shocked that some were made in Italy. I'm not really shocked, but just sort of like, oh man. Yeah, I guess this is China. Now, this would technically be their cable shear. Now the low battery light's flashing at me. If you recall, we've got the Knipex ones, and spoiler alert, that isn't the only other pair. That said, we haven't made the video on that. It'll be coming soon, and you'll get to see it. And eventually we'll line all three up and we'll highlight what we like and what we don't like. So, on those notes, I won't be spending much time here, but I will be going over it again. I have decently big hands, probably not the biggest, probably larger than some people, but not quite to the fold of the traffic finger there, right? So that gives you an idea. I will say when these came, I was initially disappointed, and that's just because they looked bigger. You know, keep in mind I do have my Alpha gloves on. Link and discount code of Lone Star will save you some cash. The red ones, if you're curious about them, they're filthy. Like, they would trash everything. And that's why I've kind of gone to these. You'll see those in some auto videos, monkey wrenching, if you will. But these felt really good. They do cut well. It's just kind of, if you've got smaller hands and fingers, you know, you might love it. But for me, that's about all that I'm going to be able to do. Like, I can't get, this is the bad thumb, and it's glove. But to give you an idea, like, I can't fit much more than a thumb and a finger, which I kind of prefer. This has been a gripe of mine, no joke, since kindergarten. Those stupid safety scissors, I hated them. And 1 year, I think you had to get like scissors every year along with Clinics that then you're never allowed to use, and glue that you never, I don't know what they do with the surplus. I guess now they're laughing. They've got crud from the late 80s and early 90s, and I guess they don't have a shortage of toilet paper and Clinics like everyone else. But anyway, the scissors have always ticked me off. It's been a pet peeve of mine. I hate this crud. I absolutely hate it. I like the ones that have like the D-ring handles, at least on one side. And they just work so much better for me personally. That said, I can use these. I can articulate them. It's not a total loss. And this is just one of those things that you always have a use for scissors, particularly when they multifunction as shears, if you will, right? So I'm excited to have these, excited to pick them up, excited, most importantly, to do the comparison with other brands. But that's what I did. We went all in on Wiha, technically across a couple of orders, but for your viewing purposes, we just kind of threw it all together here. So hope you enjoyed it, hope you learned a little something. If you've got experience with any of these items, if you say that handle is a piece of garbage, you know, you're going to regret that purchase. Or if you say, man, I hope they don't discontinue this because I love it, I like it better than Pico. Or hey, you know, I'm glad they're getting rid of that, Pico is the way to go. Curious your thoughts on all that, particularly these two trays. Let's say that this one's not getting discontinued. Which one do you prefer and why? Price difference, roughly $3. Is it worth it to you to have the tray? How also would you mount these? Would you have your precision drivers dunked down from the top? Or would you do the deal where you put the caps down and you have the tips up? That's really the, I guess, question of the day. But I got to get a video thumbnail before the camera's totally dead. Then I'm going to run in because it's going to be Saturday and I got to go to work. And I realize now we forgot one item. I don't know how I could do it. This is something, luckily it's not critical. It's the Wiha Magnetizer, Demagnetizer, part number 410, and it's right there. You've seen this, but not quite in this fashion, okay? I really like this thing. I don't know, maybe it came off like I was complaining, but I actually loved that color. I think it's weird. It's really weird, but it's like seafoam green 1960s weird, and that's why I like it. And I don't know, maybe it kind of ties in, you know, like green was sort of the color scheme, and they moved on to the red and the black. This was just unique. It looks like something that was old. It looks like something my grandparents would have had. It looks like something, when I hear German tools, I kind of think of quirky things like this that work well. And this, I've actually loved it. I've had it sitting back there at the bench It's on top of square tubing on the wall, but I mean, I can easily reach it, as you can see, because I use it, and it has been great. This is the updated version. I've wanted to kind of get this for a while. As you can see, it's literally the exact same thing. Nothing has changed aside from the color scheme. The seafoam green is black, and then the black lettering on the seafoam green unit is white. This is dirt cheap. It's probably one of the best priced magnetizer, demagnetizers. It's quality that you can find. It's not super big, it's fairly compact. I'm looking for the price, trying to drag out the commentary for you. Where is it? I don't know that I wrote it down. Oh, it was at the top. Wonderful. So standard price $539. I want to say that I got this on Tool of the Day shortly after all of the Wera stuff, and that's why I thought, you know what, this is cheap, we need to hit the $50 mark, and that's when I started kind of throwing some of this stuff on, and that way we get our free freight. But that was it. Tool of the Day. It's like $4 and change. You can sometimes find these on sale at KC Tool and Wiha, so be on the lookout. But again, let me know, which one do you prefer, honestly? Do you like the modern black and white one, the contrast, or do you kind of like the old school throwback? Let me know. But with that said, I gotta go because this thing is going to die and we don't want that to happen. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a like, leave a comment, let me know your thoughts. LoneStarMopars.com is the website. Of course, you can find us on social media: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. All three will be at Lone Star Mopars. I do tend to post a little bit more frequently to Instagram just because I find it easier. Twitter second easiest, Facebook third easiest. I'm not on there as often as the other two, but try to utilize all of them, keep you up to date with the videos and anything crazy or major. With that said, this is the KC Tool Haul Wiha edition we put together. We also can't forget the hat, which does fit, does look pretty swanky if I don't say so myself. But on that note, any questions, feel free to ask. Any first-hand experiences, feel free to share. And I will catch you back here in the next one.